Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for ICONversations. Today we have a superstar panel of 5 of our amazing icons. Icon represents the top earners at eXp Realty, 3 to 6% of which, out of about 80,000 agents, only reach Icon. And today, from South Carolina, we have Rupesh Patel. From Florida, we have Ricardo Hidalgo. From California, we have Charles Chamorro. From Alberta, we have Garrett Cook. And the amazing Laura Rowe from Virginia is our moderator, ready to take it to the moon for you. Laura, it's all you.
Great. Thank you so much. I just did a quick Instagram just to show people how we do these things. People still don't understand how we train in a big way. But hey, thank you so much for being here, you guys. Thanks for all the love. We have a great panel today. I will go ahead and do mine really quick, and then I'm going to pass this on. But I'm Laura Rowe. I am a 3-time Icon agent out of Virginia Beach, Virginia, also a luxury agent in our area. I have been doing this almost 24 years. I'm averaging right around 15 to 16 million a year. And currently I do not have a team. I've had a team for over 23 years. And last year I decided that I was tired and I decided not to have a team anymore. So that is me. And so I'm going to be asking these guys some really great questions, but I'd love Garrett to start off and give us your introduction.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Hey, listen, I'm so excited to be here. So my name is Garrett Cook. I'm from Alberta, Canada. So the only Canadian on the panel today. So I'm representing, and I've been in the business for over 7 years. I've been with eXp for 2.5 years, 2-time Icon. And I don't have a traditional team, but I do have an organization of 18 agents. I am on a domestic team with my beautiful wife, Danielle. And we are doing roughly around $25 to $30 million a year. And we are on track for our biggest year to date. So very excited and happy to be here with you all, ready to have some great conversation.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Charles, give us a little background.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Charles Chamorro. I'm from Chino Hills, California. It's about 35 miles east of Los Angeles. I'm a 2-time Icon agent, 2 years with eXp Realty. I do residential and commercial real estate. I have a team of 8 people, a ton of referral partners, and also a virtual assistant, 3 field service personnel. And yeah, I'm looking forward to learn from my fellow Icons and to share my knowledge with everybody.
Awesome. And Charles, what do you do per year? I'm just curious. What does that look like? What
average about 20 million.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's go over to Ricardo. Your turn.
Hi, my name is Ricardo. I've been doing real estate for just a little bit over 5 years. I've been 2 years with eXp. I run a small team. I would say my own personal production is anywhere between 15 to 20 million a year. And then the team's production is probably another 15 to 20 million. And that's kind of what our numbers are looking like for this year. And that's what they did for the past 2 years.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Okay, Rupesh.
Yes, I'm Rupesh Patel. I've been in the business 15 years. I've been with eXp 3 years. 3 years hit the Icon status. I run a small team up in upstate South Carolina. It's me and 3 agents, and we do anywhere between 25 to 30 million.
Wow, that's great. So it looks like everybody on the panel has some kind of team. So this is kind of and you guys are doing, a lot of business. And so let's talk about this. What would you say? Let me start with Garrett. Garrett, can you tell us a little bit about? Okay, so you decided to start a small team. And what do you do? What do you think your success is just coming out of the gates on that?
Yeah, so we decided, it was probably about a year ago where I decided to start really wanting to build a team or an organization. So we're not a traditional team. We're bringing all agents on as independent agents. And the focus was to build culture. It was the biggest thing for me, and that was one of the things that really excited me about eXp is the fact that we had the ability to build with other agents and somewhat control the culture. And culture is such a big thing, and sometimes it can be so cutthroat out there in our industry. And I wanted to build a safe place where agents could come and collaborate rather than compete. Now, we all know, yes, that there is competition out there, and I get that part. But the real focus for me was to build a safe place where agents can build their business, where they could collaborate with other agents and feel like there is a safe place to communicate, to ask questions, and to build. And so this year, we started in January with just 3 agents. And since then, we have added another 15. And it's all just been organic, which is the beautiful place to be, really, where it doesn't feel like you're headhunting and you're trying to sell something to somebody. We really created it through just how we do business. And it attracted agents to come and talk with us and wonder what we're doing, how we're doing it. And it's actually been quite the beautiful build. And so now we have these 18 agents. We actually meet weekly. We build value. We bring in professionals to add value as well. So it's not just agents sitting around the table. We're bringing in inspectors and lawyers and all these professionals to actually build value into these people. And so it's been a really cool build, really focused on that culture and letting agents know that we actually all need each other. Right. There's always going to be 2 agents in a transaction. And the one thing that we can focus on is how are we treating those other agents? How are we building with them? Yes, they may be at another brokerage, but there's actually a way that every transaction can go smoothly. And part of the big thing of that is having good relationships with other agents. So for me, it all comes back to the culture. How are we treating people? How are we treating the other agents that we're working with? And it's been really cool.
Well, and it's so interesting because, one of the big things about, EXP, and it is sometimes the elephant in the room. I mean, we do have orphan agents. And when we have these orphan agents, you have to bring them in or you're going to lose them. And I think that what you're doing is really great because in a way, what I've done is I've tried to bring these orphan agents in saying, hey, listen, I don't want a team, but, I do have a physical office. Come in anytime you want. We do happy hours. And I try to bring other agents that are not under the downline to be with us. And I did just recently brought in 3 agents back to EXP. And what I offered them is a coaching program. So I do free coaching for them. And it has just been fantastic to do it that way because now I feel like I don't have to have a team because I think my personality is I love being with people. So that's why I had a team. Well, I had a team for the wrong reason. So now I'm doing it a little bit different. And I really like the way we're pacing up. So I have another one coming this week. I've got another one I'm trying to talk to next week, but I am not in charge. I'm not the broker. I think 24 years in, I'm tired. And so I'd rather do it this way, but it sounds like building your organization is the same as sort of having a team. I'm not sure if you can talk real quick on, do you mind sharing? Do those guys give you splits or you just bring them under your organization?
Yeah. So my main focus was to actually replicate what I'm doing. And so I don't take a split. I still help train. I build value in these agents, but my goal is to keep as much money in the pockets of these agents, help them build their own business and their own name, because I can build my own name and I can build my own business. And so if I can replicate that, everybody's going to win. And I understand that this might not be the approach that everybody takes. In fact, there's probably a lot of money that I'm leaving on the table by doing it this way. But for me, it's a long game. I really want to see other agents succeed. And so in that, I feel like if you give them, the pride of ownership essentially, and they get to build their own name in 3, 4, 5 years from now, they're going to be in a much better place. Because I do find, and this isn't a knock to team settings, I think there is a time and a place for team settings for sure. And where splits should be paid out. But I have noticed and watched some teams, even in our local area, where agents kind of get to a point where they've hit their ceiling. And then they're like, well, I know everything I need to know to go out on my own. And then they leave that team. And I think when it comes back to the culture thing, I want to really build that value in those agents and show them that they can do it alone, but with the team support. And so we're very much functioning as a team. We meet every week, except for in the summer, every other week, so people can have a bit of a break. But we pour into these agents. We want them to do well, and so that's why we structured it the way that we have. And I think long term, everybody is actually going to win from that.
I think so too, and I think that it really is. And I hope that everybody's listening to this, is that there's so many different ways to do it at EXP. I don't think anything's the wrong way, but I do feel like I'm the same, because again, we are getting a little bit from the revenue share. So that seemed to work for me, because yes, is it free coaching I give out? Absolutely, but is it really free? Because they are definitely coming on board. So I love that idea. And then let's go to Charles. Charles, what do you think's your top? Like, I want to know, like, you're doing, at this point, you're 2-time EXP, icon, you're doing about 20 million. Tell me, what is your top, if you want to just give us your top reason for your success that you think that the audience can learn from you?
Well, I treat it like a regular job, because a lot of agents go into the business. When I was with Keller Williams before, I used to sit in the front desk, and we had a real estate school. So the people would come in, and there were nurses, they work in different professions, and they would say to me that, oh, I want to get into real estate so I could work less and then make a lot of money. So I didn't like that mindset. I used to get really annoyed with that. So I tell my team that we have to treat it like a regular job. We have to put in the time, at least 8 hours a day, or if they could put more, then they should do it. And we should put a lot of effort. So a lot of time, a lot of effort. And we also use leverage to make it more efficient for us. Mm-hmm. So I learned from Craig Proctor, who's like a Canadian, like Garrett, the 3 leverages: marketing, people, and technology. So we do a lot of marketing, especially online marketing, and we also use people like virtual assistants, and also field people who could do tasks like deploying lockboxes, checking on properties, what the conditions are. And also we use a lot of technology like chatbots, AI, to make things faster.
And Charles, when you're doing, and because I think as I used to, as a brand new agent, of course, I was like, everybody told me how to have a team, how to do this. But I really waited until I was like a year in, and then I thought, okay, now I'm super busy, I need help. And then I was able to leverage. So if you're a new agent, you have to understand Charles has been doing this a while, but the millions that he's doing is because he's leveraging himself. And I think that's just really fantastic. When you're doing when I'm hearing virtual assistant and I'm hearing the AI, can you just really quick just tell me, like, if somebody wants, because it sounds like this is big secret, right? Because I've talked to agents about virtual assistants, but nobody wants to share, like, how the hell do you get that, right? And then the other thing is, when you're doing your AI and your box, like, how do you do that? I mean, can you talk just give us a brief synopsis on, if somebody in the audience is not brand new, you don't need this, I don't think, right away. But if someone's in here and you're already maxing out your time, where could they go to get that virtual assistant, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, actually, it's very easy to get a virtual assistant. There's a lot of agencies out there, and they will call you. You don't even have, So a lot of these agencies, I think they scour the web for who produces a lot in a certain area. So they call me, and then I hired a virtual assistant from an agency in the beginning, and it turned out okay. And then suddenly that virtual assistant kind of disappeared on me, and I was not happy with it. So I went online. There are different Facebook groups where you could find virtual assistants independently. And what I found out is, like, the agencies, let's say they charge me 10 or 15 per hour. They actually pay them like $4 or $6 per hour. So if you go directly to the virtual assistant and pay them like 6 or 10 an hour, they'll be so happy. They will like really do everything for you above and beyond. So,
and when you're talking about them helping you, are you talking they're doing what, sky slope for you?
They're doing lead handling. So we get a lot of leads. So they're calling back the leads. If we have missed calls, they call them. Emails, they answer emails. They do the sky slope. I have my TC do that one. Okay. But some of the sky slope tasks, like for leases, we have the virtual assistant do that. and they also do some handle follow-up boss, and also do the I hired a virtual assistant who knows how to do AI, so they also take care of that synthesia, those
Right. And there you go.
other things we do.
That's the secret there. That's what I wanted to
Yeah,
know.
yeah, have a
There it
VA
is.
that
Yeah.
knows AI. So hit two
Yeah.
birds in one stone. So
Yeah.
you find a lot of them. So you got to interview them though, because there are agencies too. They would tell you, oh, we monitor our VAs. We have like real time monitoring, and they would make promises, but it I don't want to name names, but yeah.
Right.
But just be careful. Just interview them,
Yeah.
the agencies, and interview the VA. Make sure they know what they're doing, and yeah,
Perfect.
once you're satisfied, you could go get them, and then it would save you a lot of time, a lot of stress. You
Okay,
don't
well,
have to do the mechanical and menial task. You could do that and focus on growing your business.
Right. Well, that's just a huge help. Thank you so much for that. And hey, Ricardo, what are your thoughts on this? Like, what do you think? I mean, you're doing 15, 20 million on your own, and then your team's doing 15 million. So that's a lot of business. Tell me, what do you think as really, first, let's do you. Like, how between your 15, 20 million a year, what is your top, what do you think your top contributor to your success is?
At this point in my career, it's probably the people that I've worked with. So I would say that my big ticket sales have just been from upgrading people from property to property. So we started, at X price point. Now we're at this price point. Most of those have matured into the millions or multi-millions. So that kind of swings the business. That's my trading aspect. The other one is I probably have like 5 to 10 referral programs that I just naturally get fed into. And then I have some sources of just really paid marketing to kind of just make sure that consistency is there. That way, if the organic sources aren't producing or the market is the way it is currently, we're still getting new business, because sometimes the current and old business was looking in the past market, and we also want to welcome new opportunities are searching in the current one that may be more open to buying.
Got it. And it's so interesting because I've always heard that, the money's really in the post-closing. And if you're a new agent, it really is in the post-closing, because if you're listening to Ricardo, I mean, you're going to buy, so-and-so buys a house for 200,000 and you're like, oh, it's just the low end. But then at the end of the day, 10 years later, you're at, the move up is 400 to 500. The next move up is $1 million. And I have so many clients in that category. So that's pretty cool. And I'm glad that you keep up with them. How do you actually keep up with those clients?
Most of it is like email marketing. So weekly emails, I think I've mentioned that. And I would say I'm a huge caller. So I probably make at least 50 calls a day.
Wow.
Or text messages, on top of just like sending videos on social media. So most of the times I just make sure that my clients are following me in some sort of social media. That way they're at least receiving the content if they're not seeing the emails or text messages. So I make sure that once I close, I give them like a memorable gift. I touch or follow up with them a month or two to kind of see, hey, how's your rental doing or your property? What can I help you with? And then months 3 and 4, I kind of just start to send them other properties in the area, and so they can start comparing to see how they're doing.
Awesome.
So I try to kind of, build some excitement, connect with them, stay in touch with them like along the journey. That way they know I'm interested. And typically that opens up another conversation for someone else they know that may be looking to buy, just because they know I care.
Right. That's really great. And I think that's the post-closing is so important. And then when you have your team, a lot of times we're like, for like my team, I gave them the fish, but I wanted them to fish on their own, because if you take the fish away, basically, if you take the leads away, can they stand on their own? And so when I had a team, I tried to do both. Like here's some leads, but this is also, what you have to do. What is your advice to when you're doing your team? What's your biggest contributor there for their success? Because y'all done that's a lot of volume.
Yeah. So I think it's just really simple, and it really goes down to what is the leader and what is he doing. I'm practicing what I'm preaching. So I feel like when people are seeing me make phone calls or consistently taking risks, they see the way I'm taking those risks or the ways that I'm structuring those calls. I think one thing that's different from my team structure is it's a group, not necessarily all with EXP. They're also from different brokerages that have a characteristic or personality that I want to work with. And the difference is that they are just consistently going on appointments with me, whether it's buying or listing. That way they can become a little bit more like-minded, and then they can kind of put their own spin on it so that they can learn the business. And if they can learn the business to this level of detail, it doesn't matter how many more leads you'll get, because it's just going to open up more doors. So I'm not the type of person that's going to hold a meeting and say, hey, everyone sit down here for an hour and let's talk about stuff. No, I'm going to say, hey, here's a lead. This is the profile of the lead. This is what they're looking for and their time frame. These are the things that I need you to provide them. I'm going to put you in a group chat. And they already see how I've managed my business. So pretty much the interaction's already there. The team member will say, hey, here's the list of, vetted vendors, insurance, title, whatever it is, just giving them a foundation and structure. And then we kind of just start working in conversation one by one. Typically, I take the lead on the first two, and then I always stay in a group chat with the client and the agent, so I can just oversee the conversation and I can chime in at the same time. So if they don't have the answer, they can see how I'm responding. Or I'll tell them in the background in a private chat saying, hey, these are the things that you need to do before you respond to this text message.
That's awesome.
So a lot of it is like, it's like game time, right? Like situations that are actually occurring. I don't really teach off theory or like scenarios that aren't there. And I guess you could say they know how to generate their own business, but I'm at the point now where I just get so many leads. I'm just like divvying them up, so they're more real leads, I guess you could say. So I wouldn't even say like we spend a huge time prospecting. I would probably say, at least for me, I probably do about 9 to 12 hours. I'm sure some of the other team members probably do between 5 to 10. And then the rest, I'm kind of just giving the leads out to them with the profile brief already in the conversation, helping the client. I think it's just because the branding I've established, and also the trust, and also the reviews, and so many years of advertising and consistency and just word of mouth now. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I'm not at the point where like I don't even spend probably over $3,000, $4,000 on lead generation for us to maybe have a gross commission income of $800,000 to $900,000. So that's kind of where my margins are. And I'm more working people by like knowledge, what to say, different angles of the market. And obviously I'm giving them access to my network, whether it's the private wealth groups, contractors, or just very high level vetted individuals that you can't come in contact with unless it's like a vetted referral.
Right.
So I think that just kind of elevates the business, and also like, okay, wow, like I'm working with like an actual entity.
Right. Well, and it's interesting because it's interesting because I feel like you're a really great leader. And I think for all of us that, everybody wants to start a team, and you have to have a team for this, or you have to have a team for that. But the reality is, if you're not a good leader, you don't need to start a team, because there's a lot to lead. And you've ever heard of this saying, speed of the leader, speed of the pack. When you see teams fail, and I don't necessarily think my team failed, but I was just getting tired of it, and that's why I just kind of disbanded my team. But like I said, I'm doing something a little different. But let me go over to Rupesh, and I know that you said you've been in the business 15 years, and doing about 25 million now. And can you just give us a little like heads up on yours as well as like what is the top contributor to your success?
I think it's very similar to what Ricardo was just saying. I mean, I think I'm very much, I always say prospecting based, marketing enhanced. From when I started out as a real estate agent, for probably about a year, I was sitting at my Century 21 brokerage, and I was treating it like a job, like one of the other panelists, mentioned. And, what I saw was a lot of agents didn't really treat it like a business or like a job. So what I mean by that was, I started out, being at the brokerage all day, every single day, as if they were paying me a salary at the end of the week. And, after about a year of kind of like winging it, I kind of studied a lot of, top producers nationally. And what I found was, a lot of them that were successful were doing 2 to 3 hours of lead generation per day. So, I quickly put that into my business. And, what I learned early on, and they always tell you real estate is a contact sport, and nobody's going to call you to buy or sell a house. You have to reach out to people, and you have to be working a funnel. If you're familiar with top of the funnel leads and middle of the funnel leads and bottom of the funnel, at the bottom of the funnel, everybody wants that.
Rupesh, I think we lost you. Okay, I think we lost Rupesh for now. So if he comes back on, we'll catch the end of what he would. Are you there, Rupesh? Okay, let's keep moving. And then when he gets back on, I'll take a look where he's at. And I was going to, for me, my biggest success right now is neighborhood farming. And I also do events. And those were really much the top two things that I do. I do 3 main events a year. That is, I do St. Patrick's Day. I do a baseball, St. Patrick's Day. I have about 50 clients come over to my house. I do the baseball game, which I have about 140 people come to that game, which is really fun. We have a triple AAA baseball team that feeds into the Orioles. And then at the end of the year, we actually we host anywhere between 80 to 140 people at my house again, outside. I turn my whole home into a beer garden, and it's actually amazing. So I get a lot of leads through that as well. That's how I do it. And then neighborhood farming, guys, I've taught a neighborhood farming mindset. I think it's somewhere in the world. I don't have it updated at this point, but I'm hoping to put something out sooner than later to EXP agents. But I do probably about $4 million of business in my neighborhood. And when I say mindset, I mean, am I listing everybody's house? No, I just know everybody, and I get so many referrals outside the neighborhood. So that's a real big thing. And I'm looking forward to really expounding on this at a different time. Because it's a whole class. But I would say, let's go back over to Garrett. What do you do for your clients? I'm just curious. And the other thing before we start that is like, I have agents all the time say, well, the 50 people is a lot of people. No. Just start slow. Like just start small, and then you can build up to it. When I'm doing the baseball games, I have every vendor giving me $1,000. So that baseball game cost me about $5,000. Oktoberfest runs about $3,500, and then of course the St. Patrick's Day doesn't really cost. It's probably like $1,000. But Garrett, what do you do? I would love to know what you do for client events.
Well, that's a great question for me, because it's actually something that I was just thinking about this week, because up to this point, I haven't actually done any major client events. So even just hearing you talk, and this is why we do these things, because we can pull so much information and so much ideas from all the other agents that are doing big business. And so, I'm just kind of absorbing some of this information that you're saying, and I'm thinking, okay, these are some areas that I can myself step up the game. And so one of the things that we're going to be looking into, and I've chatted with some of the agents even in our organization, like, what can we do? And so this is something where wheels are in motion a little bit, and we're going to be putting something together this year. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but it's going to be something that we're going to be focusing on.
And that's awesome. And what I learned at first, I was like, I think I looked at it the wrong way. Like at Oktoberfest, I was like, man, all my neighbors they're like sitting in a circle by themselves, but then I started thinking, man, I just got to invite more neighbors. And it just turned into, it's been crazy. And it's not that all those people are my neighbors, because they're not. But it really did start off with inviting my core neighbors to my events. And they just couldn't. One guy came over and he said, I don't even know this many people. And I started laughing and go, I know more than that. But he was so funny. He's like, how do you do this? I said, I've sold everybody a house that's in this at my house. And he couldn't believe it. He just couldn't believe it. And so it's just a real testament of, especially when you're a really good agent and your clients absolutely love you. It's a good testament to other people that come to your parties, or sometimes I'll say, bring a friend that wants to sell a house. So anyway, so I hope you can do that. And I'd love to bounce some ideas off you. I've had huge success on just doing parties. So I'd love to, if you ever need anything, Garrett, you can always call me. Hey, Charles.
I'd love to chat a little more about it.
Yeah, I'd love to. Charles, let me know. Would you do anything as far as neighborhood farming or not neighborhood farming, but as far as doing client events?
Well, the events I do, because me and my son, we go to an MMA gym. So I'm the one who actually organizes events for the kids, like paintball games and
Nice.
also victory parties, whenever they win in jiu-jitsu tournaments. So one of our members owns a restaurant called Papachino. So we go there and everybody has a great time. I get a photo booth and we have good food. And then I organize airsoft games. And my son is also in Civil Air Patrol, so also that group I volunteer to organize fun events for them, like group hikes or, airsoft games. That the kids love those, and the parents appreciate that. And things come. Good things come out of it, like that gym I was talking about earlier. When they expanded, when they doubled their size, I was the commercial agent that they used. So, and I did also deals with some of the parents there when they wanted to sell their house or buy a house or rent a house. They call me and I have my team work on those. So those are as far as events, those are the ones that I do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And what about you, Ricardo?
So it's a little bit different because I would say half our market, sometimes I'm just doing kind of like virtual or FaceTime. So it's not like I can, host an event and they can fly down from New York to Florida that day. So it's a little bit different. So instead of trying to just get everyone together and host something, I like to kind of cater it to whether it's the season or when they're coming down. Typically, I've learned some details about this individual, such as their profession, things they like to do, or if they bought a property already. I may just take them on an experience in the community that they bought and say, hey, let's go to this restaurant and try this out and maybe talk some things, or let's go to the private club in Alice Beach, which not many people get access to. So I kind of, instead of just like trying to host everyone together, I try to just meet with the person one-on-one, kind of maybe show them things that, they haven't really explored, such as like special trails, maybe some private beach accesses, something that's like really exclusive, that they can kind of remember and cherish so that they can continue to keep falling in love with this area. And these type of conversations or experiences or dining typically leads to more business for me, or just it gets them to know me a little bit better, and it kind of builds the trust.
Right. Remind me what city are you in Florida?
So it's called the Emerald Coast, the Panhandle of Florida.
Okay.
Really, it's like Navarre to Panama City, but most people know Destin, 30A, and Panama City Beach.
Okay. So you have a lot of transient coming and going.
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
I
would say that like at least 50% of our business is transient. I mean, I would say that even this year, not including COVID, but before even COVID happened, I would say like most of my stuff was being done virtually via FaceTime or video, just because they're in Texas or wherever they may be. It's just
that's so different. Yeah, that's such a different.
Yeah, it's like at least like it's either a 4 to 6 hour car ride or it's like a 2 to 4 hour plane ride, and most of these people are just very busy, so they like to do things via phone call. That's why they just want to make sure they have the trust factor. I feel like at that level and this type of market, those buyers kind of want to delegate to the agent because they value their time and they know exactly what they're looking for, such as their own career field. So I think it's a little bit different of a relationship, I guess you would say.
Yeah, so it's so interesting. I called my client the other day, and she answered the phone and she said, "Did you butt dial me?" And I said, "No." I said, "Why would you think that?" She goes, "Well, why are you calling?" And I said, "I'm just calling to see how you're doing." And she just couldn't even believe it, but she doesn't live here anymore, So I still try to keep up with clients that are outside the area. I just call them because they might know someone that needs to buy in our area anyway. So that was kind of a funny thing I had just the other day. What about Rupesh? Tell me a little bit. Do you do anything for your client? Do you do any client events?
That is a something that we want to start doing. I could do better, to be honest, but just like one of the other panelists was mentioning, what I tend to do is, once the closing has occurred, I have a 3-3-3 plan. It's like 3 days after closing, I'll check in with them. 3 weeks after closing, I'll check in with them. And then now it's every 3 months. So I'll try to call them every 3 months. We do email marketing. I have, home valuation reports that goes out to them. And I send out 2 videos every single month to the database. And I'm going to be starting a mailing program. So that's kind of the touches that I do. And I'm like you, I think sometimes people are shocked when you call them because they have nothing to buy. and nothing to sell, but it's just checking on them and just making sure they're okay. And I think we've got to always keep those options open. And I think the more that we do that we're building these relationships where those relationships will actually give back to us.
Absolutely. And I've learned that over the years too. I mean, I've been doing this just forever. So definitely. And is there anything else, Rupert, that you would like to share remind me where you're at. What part of South Carolina are you?
I'm in the Spartanburg, Greenville area. I'm just in the upstate, just about an hour from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay. And you know what I really like is I just wrote all this down because, honestly, the best thing I like doing is training. And I try to jump on one or two trainings a week with EXP, and I've been doing this forever, but I just love listening. But the 333, I love that idea. Believe it or not, I don't do that. I think I checked in with a client one time, and then, their ceiling caved in, and I'm like, oh my God, do I really want to keep calling everybody? Because it freaks me out to call them. Is everything okay? But I think it's such a great idea. I think I'm going to have to implement something like that. I think I do like that a lot. Do you, when you're doing, let's start with Rupesh, what about any kind of neighborhood farming, or do you do any of that?
So it's something I've considered, obviously, but with neighborhood farming, you can't just send one piece of mail and expect a result. It's more of a long-term play. It's more of a 12-month plan. What I'm finding, I went to the post office the other day, and it was like, I asked for some stamps, and it was like, I was like, how much is the stamp? It was like 78 cents or something like that. I don't know.
That's one up.
I'm like, wow. And then because I've been thinking about doing, farming, and then I'm thinking how do I need to do this on the cheap? So I know there's some every door direct programs that are out there that will reduce the mail cost. I haven't done any farming because in the areas that we work in, there's not those big subdivisions. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out what the turnover is in some of those subdivisions before I start mailing. So if you are thinking about doing some kind of farming, you really need to know, how many homes are sold there, what the turnover is, and be prepared to do this for 12 months. And the other thing is, you need to make sure that your messaging on whatever you're mailing is correct. A lot of people, they'll send out a just listed or a just sold, and, call me if I can help you buy or sell a home, and that's kind of like, it's kind of a hope method. So, making sure that you have the right necessary messaging on there that's going to trigger them to make a phone call to you versus the other two agents that are farming in the neighborhood.
Right. And what I started doing was I will take the last, and this is, I take the last 6 months of my neighborhood, and then I go back and just kind of see who the main agent is. And I'm happy to report that I will have 3 in my neighborhood, 4 or 5. I'll be the number 1 agent now in my neighborhood at the end of the year. I think I'll be at either 5 or 6 deals in my neighborhood, but I've worked really hard to get it to that point. But usually I'll pull, because agents ask me about this all the time, I will pull everything in that neighborhood off our MLS. And if you don't know how to do this, you just call your MLS and they should walk you through it. And I take, in my neighborhood, I have 1,200 houses. Out of those 1,200 houses, I take out everybody that's bought a house within 3 to 4 years, because honestly, I don't want to spend the money on them. That's the first thing I do. The second thing I do is take out all the owner occupants, the ones that are, I want the owners that live there. I don't want the renters. And I take that out and put it into a separate pile. And then I market these separately. So it's worked out very well. But again, I think I've done better, going to the garden club and doing wine night and book night. And, that's how I've really been able to grow that business. Garrett, do you have anything to say on neighborhood farming?
Yeah, so for me, it's been a little bit unique because I have grown up with my city. So when I've lived in the same city for 30 years. When I moved here, it was about 50,000 people. Now we're just over 100,000 people. And so I've had the ability to grow up with my city. And so I don't actually target specific neighborhoods. I have tried it with very little success. And if you want a cheap way to get flyers out there, have 4 children. I paid all my kids to just basically run through the neighborhood and drop off flyers. And it's a really quick and easy way to do it. But but honestly, I have tried to focus really on the face to face and having the ability to know a lot of people in the city. I haven't directed my time in a specific neighborhood necessarily as much as just really connecting with the repeat and referral business that I've grown over a long time, right?
Mm-hmm. Got it. What about Charles? Will you tell me a little bit about, do you have an opportunity to do farming?
Well, what I have are neighborhood community groups on social media on Facebook. So I have my own, and I also participate in other people's groups, also on Nextdoor, where I interact with people. They ask for my recommendations for an AC guy, for example, or a house cleaner, and I have my vendor list of my trusted vendors, and I give good recommendations, and people appreciate that. I tried the postcard route before, but I did not find that very effective. So, to make it efficient, I do a lot of things online.
Right. Does your virtual assistant help you answer? Because I don't have time for Facebook and trying to figure out doing community groups. Unfortunately, my personality doesn't allow me to do that, because I just get overwhelmed. But for you, are you answering everybody on Nextdoor and the Facebook groups, or do you have your personal assistant do it?
Both of us do it. So if I'm busy, like listing appointments, showing houses, so my VA does that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Let's see. What about Ricardo? Did I already ask you that yet?
I don't think so.
So what's your thoughts on, do you do any kind of neighborhood farming?
Not really. I run like seller ads in a particular area, pretty much like Navarre to like Panama City Beach, and it kind of just pools consistently. I spend about like $1,500 a month on ad spend, and it would probably generate us like 3 to 5 listing appointments. And then we'll just kind of maybe start to send postcards once we actually get the listings, because I feel like we have enough listing diversity or listing sales that we just consistently keep getting in there. And that is per se the mailer. And then we also kind of do like Red X phone calls. So circle prospecting. If we get a listing there, we would like circle prospect like 200 homes around the area, a postcard. We do a broker's open, potentially agent tours alongside the broker's open, and then host several open houses. So I wouldn't say like I'm farming to an area to get business. Once I have the business, that's pretty much the step process that you can consider as farming that we implement every single time.
Got it. Wow, that's awesome. And a lot of people just, again, that's a lot that you do. A lot of people don't do that. So that's amazing that you're doing the calling.
So going back to the team thing, that's why like the agents, like, yes, they call and everything, but I think the strength of the agent is like, I just hand over listings or leads, and that's why I give them the checklist. That way they're already prospecting, or it's easier to prospect because they have something to talk about. So they don't have to be an expert. They can kind of just come in with an opportunity, or just like a friendly, hey, you know what, this is what we got going on, and these are the ways that we've been doing it.
Right. Gotcha. What about Rupesh for neighborhood farming?
Oh, we don't do any neighborhood farming.
Okay.
What's that?
Okay, there you are. Go
I think
ahead.
we already covered me, yeah.
Okay,
I think I just covered that earlier, but I don't really do any neighborhood farming. Thanks.
So one of the things that I'll kind of throw out there, I mean, I do this really extensively. I also offer college scholarships. Now, what I do is I take last year I took two $500 scholarships. The criteria was they had to live in the neighborhood. And that was it pretty much. And then they had to write a small essay. So I basically put a deadline and all that. And it's funny because we had 4 people. We had 3 that submitted their applications early. And then the last one submitted at 1 till midnight. That one I didn't even look at because it was midnight, but it really did well. I was able to send postcards out saying, hey, I ended up giving $1,500 instead of $1,000 because there was 3 people. And it went over really well. This year, they're advertising. Our neighborhood does a newsletter, and they have a new a Civic League people, and it's just so messed up. So I haven't been able to get the message out. And so I had a great idea. The other day I was driving through the neighborhood, and then I saw a sign that said graduate going to James Madison University. So I'm actually going to have a check for $500, go knock on the door, and I'm going to present them with the check because I don't know how else to find, I wasn't able to do the way I did it last year. So I'm just winging it. But, you guys, you can do anything like that. It doesn't have to be $500, but, I thought it was a good idea, and the neighbors went nuts over it. They thought it was just the bomb. So do you guys do anything? Let's start with Garrett. Do you do any kind of educational, or how do you give back to the community?
Yeah, so me and my wife are actually involved with a nonprofit organization called the Dream Center right downtown Red Deer. And it's not an educational thing, but what they do is they actually help get men off the streets, to rehabilitate them. They do help with a little bit of education. They kind of get them back introduced into the world a little bit, and then help them actually reconnect with their families. And it's a really, really great organization. And so that's something that we have partnered up with for the last couple of years. And it's just something where our hearts felt like it aligned. And I think that's the biggest thing, is just finding something where you can feel connected to, and something that you believe in, and just aligns with who you are. And we really love what they're doing for the city. And they help guys try to get jobs again, and awesome. It's a pretty cool organization. So and they've helped a lot of men
right.
get back into just the real world, essentially, right? And it's pretty powerful.
That's awesome. And then just being a part of something, your clients get to see that. I sit on the board of a homeless shelter, the JCOC here locally, and I donate $250 per transaction. And it's just awesome. And when I'm in my board meetings, I'm Instagramming it. When I'm, anytime, or if I ask for help, people are helping, and they just want to know that you're putting your money somewhere. So what about you, Charles? Do you do any kind of community work or something like that?
Yes, actually, the community group I made in social media, especially during COVID, it was very useful for them. They were able to sell things there when they didn't have work, and they were able to find jobs and, get to know more people. And also, I consider our gym to our community. So, I help them by getting events organized, by recruiting people. I help get more people into the gym to help the business, and I use my knowledge in recruiting and in organizing, to help them.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Ricardo, do you do anything in that area?
I think mine is more for the holidays. Like, for example, like volunteering to like pass out food, serve others. I know that a few years ago we gave out a bunch of pies to different families. In the Christmas time, we gave out some gift cards too, just so families can go out and eat, because it was a hard time. And then sometimes we just give little trinkets or even gifts to kids, depending on the foundation, or if I just see someone, in the store, and you can kind of tell, sometimes, you can kind of see the family's having a hard time, and I'll just be like, screw it, I'll just buy it,
Right.
And the kids get ecstatic because I wear also a bunch of Jordans and, all the hip stuff. So people kind of see it, and I can see that they have the passion. So when they're in the store, I'm like, I wish someone would have done that for me.
Right. No, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of just take it on a case by case basis, and kind of just what I see in front of me. I think that's the biggest impact, because, you have the discernment to make that decision, and you can kind of feel out the situation.
Yeah, 100%. I remember there was I was selling a house, and we were showing a house, and the kid was on his way he was going to go to a job interview, but his shoes were oh my gosh, they were so bad. And then we just asked the dad, what size does he wear? And I ran up to the store and bought him some new shoes, came back and said, hey, good luck on your interview. Yeah. They just never forgot that, and it was just something. I just think if we're just sensitive to other people, you don't have to be sitting on a board of a shelter. You don't have to do all that stuff. It's just every day really being aware of your environment. I mean, it's just a godsend for them. And then, of course, it makes you feel amazing. What about you, Rupesh? Anything? Do you sit on anything or?
I don't sit on any boards, but we do volunteer for the soup kitchen where we give out food to the homeless. And we also participate in Habitat for Humanity. And then usually around Christmas time, they have, there is kids who, maybe are not able to get, some of the toys or some of the gifts that they would like to have. So we sponsor different kids and try to give back in that way. But we are trying to do more. But, that's just some of the things that we do right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we can't do everything, right? So it's good to just do a little things here and there. I would say, I know our time's almost up, but can I just get really quick let's start with Garrett. Garrett, if anybody's a new agent, let's just do number one thing you would do just give advice to new agents.
I love this question because it's something that I struggled with when I got into the industry. So a quick little backstory. I know we don't have a ton of time, but when I got into the business, we had zero money in our account. And that can be a nerve-wracking thing because oftentimes they say have 6 months of money saved up in order to get into the business. And I did not have that. But I did have 4 kids that motivated me. Yeah, they needed to eat food. So I was very motivated right out of the gate. But one of the things that I found that crippled my business in the first couple of years was I was comparing myself to every other agent in the industry. And not just the agents that were starting out. I was comparing myself to agents that had been in the industry for 10, 15, 20 years that had a big book of business and that was doing massive numbers. And it crippled my confidence because I was like, well, why can't I do that? Well, there's time in that creates that for those people, right? And so my biggest advice is just don't compare yourself to anybody else. Find 3 lanes that you can run in and run in well. Because the problem with this industry is we can get so distracted by so many different things that we can do, but then you spread yourself too thin and you're not doing anything really well. And so don't compare yourself to anybody else in the business and make sure you can find 3 things that you can do really well, whether that's door knocking or social media, whatever those 3 things are, dial them in as early as you possibly can and don't waver from them. Stick to them, be consistent with it, and I'm sure you will find success in that. But for me, I just compared myself way too early and it probably put me behind 2 years in my business. And so that would be my biggest number one thing with new agents.
Great. That's such great advice, and stay consistent. That's for sure. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to Charles. Charles.
Hi, for new agents, I really advise you to join a team where you could find leaders there who could give you good coaching so that you're not like in the dark trying to fumble your way. It's worth it. During when it's your first year, you work to learn and not to earn. So just get join a good team and get a good coach.
Good. That's great advice. What about you, Ricardo?
I think the question that we're missing here is, do I have money to spend or do I not have any money to spend?
Good.
In this situation?
Right.
This is what I did. So I graduated at 23 from college. I had 0 money to spend. My car didn't have AC in the summer of Florida with like 125,000 miles. And I was literally like a brand new agent. And this is pretty much my first job. I haven't really done any other jobs besides real estate. So what I did is I started call FSBOs, a bunch of them, expireds. I did door knocking and I did mailers. I did everything manually. So I was probably working about 12 hours a day. When I first got my first 2 listings, I didn't have the money to pay for those, so I pulled out 3 0 APR credit cards, $5,000 limits on all of them. I sold those 2 listings. I put them on the credit card, sold those 2 listings. That moment, I started doing Facebook advertising, $1,000 a month, which generated me $250,000 of business, and I continued to do the prospecting, Red X, manual mailers, door knocking. I would probably say I was doing about 2,000 touches a week. So I was pretty much working Monday through Sunday. And then by the second year, the business really took off to over $250,000 and it kind of got us to where we are today. So I probably did all of that with less than $12,000 on normal marketing and probably another $10,000 for the listing that we acquired and also the sales.
That's
and
awesome.
I just took the risk on all the cards, and I was so poor I'm not joking. I had to choose between $10 of advertising a day or eating out. So I would have to even wake up earlier to get my meals done, and then also work out at the end of the day too to manage my health. So it was a pretty stressful time, but you can build an over $250,000 business in 1 year if you put that much effort into it.
Right. And boy, you're hungry. I mean, that also takes a lot of guts. And when people are hungry, not only hungry physically, but I mean, mentally to make sure that you succeed. So congrats. That's an awesome story.
Yep.
Rupesh, do you have anything for us?
Yeah, absolutely. What I would do is you treat your business like a business. Have a schedule where you're working every single day. Make sure it's consistent. Get out to open houses on the weekends. Get in front of people. Get a CRM and use it and feed it and add to it and build that database and communicate to it.
Awesome. And my biggest thing is the database. I've lost so many databases switching companies and doing so forth. Pick one. And don't divert from it. Brian Buffini has a great CRM, but I know we're about to end here. I want to, so someone's asking a question about, finding the struggles of, I think it was what she's good at. But I would tell you this is that I think we talked about it before, but before this today is don't try, if you're not good at something, don't try to put the square in a circle. If you know you're not good at Instagram videos or YouTube videos, you really need to find your strength. What are you passionate about and what comes easy? Because if you can do the stuff that comes easy first, all that other stuff you can learn. So that would be my first suggestion for people that are struggling out there. And just, again, I think it really goes back to Garrett's question. I mean, his answer of just trying to compare himself to everybody else. You need to do your own thing, what you're comfortable with first. So that's what would be my suggestion.
And I was going to say, the comparison factor shouldn't even come into play, because when you're sacrificing that much and you're putting that in, that shouldn't even be in your mind. So if you have enough time to even compare, I would say focus, double down, and sacrifice more. Double down.
That's exactly right. Well, I think, Brian, are you going to close us out? Is Brian?
I sure can. I had to unmute. Yeah, no, I want to thank you all for coming today, and I really appreciate all of the information you guys did bring it. You are welcome to come on this show anytime, and if you are watching out there on YouTube, smash that like button. We are here every Friday from 8:45 a.m. Pacific time for an entire hour every Friday, so we will see you then. And if there are any icons out there in the audience, we go ahead and we take attendance so that you get your points just for watching. You guys, thank